One of mine and Jacob's most treasured things in our spice kit is something we call naked date nights. Sounds interesting, right? I hope you've started prioritizing date nights with your partner, or thought about why they're important if you're not in a partnership yet. But if you haven't, I'm going to strongly encourage it. So couples that date each other stay together longer. And it's really easy once you have kids to get trapped in the roles of mom and dad because they're so demanding. And we can easily just fall into playing those roles in our lives, playing mom and dad, and forget why you fell in love with your partner in the first place, why you decided to get together in the first place. You become these roles that you're playing instead of remembering that you were best friends who used to have a ton of fun together, or you had this amazing lovership, and you don't want to let that fade. At least I hope you don't, because it's the couples who fail to prioritize their connection while raising kids together who often find themselves no longer having a relationship or anything to hold on to after the kids have left the house. So if you want to make sure that you are still together once the kids are gone, then it's important to actually prioritize and plan to spend time together, just the two of you guys. And I remember when my kids were little, it was really, really hard to prioritize that time because when they're little, they cry when you leave them. And your caretakers don't always want to listen to the children cry. And I remember at the beginning, our kids used to really fight us spending time away from them. But as they got older and saw how we were still in love and their friends' parents were starting to get divorced, they started to understand it, okay? So if you're not having date nights with your partner, start there, okay? But it's really easy when you go on your date with your partner to spend the whole time talking about business. Spend the whole time talking about what's going on right now, right here with the kids that you need to, which is good and it's fine. But what about the intimacy? What about the juice? What about the pleasure that you used to experience together? You want to keep that, right? So this is something that Jacob and I started doing when our boys were really little, is we would have what we called naked date nights. And we do it regularly now. And I encourage you, try it on for size to see how it fits for you guys, okay? So these are the rules. There are a couple of rules for naked date night. First of all, you have to find a space without the kids. Without the kids, preferably 24 hours, but if you could make it 48 hours, even better. If it's just for 12 hours overnight, that's a great place to start for sure. So get away from the kids, whether that means you get a hotel room or send them to grandma and grandpa's house, or if you don't have grandma and grandpa, I bet you have a really good friend with kids similar ages. You can get on a trade where, hey, how about you keep the kids on this weekend and then I'll keep the kids on that weekend, on the next weekend. And so then you guys can trade time alone with your spouses. I'm sure you can find that friend. I'm sure you can. If not, start to network with the other parents in your kids' classes, specifically the ones who your kids gravitate towards. Go make friends with those kids as parents so you can have an ally in this arena. So once you've got rid of the kids, whether they're gone or whether you're gone, once you're alone and you're in that space, the clothes come off. And the clothes don't come back on again until you're about ready to commune again with your children. Why? If your clothes are off, the more intimacy you're gonna have. Maybe you don't have sex all night long, but just being naked makes you vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, you're going to be more open with your communication. You're going to be more caring with the way you hold space for each other, and you're going to be more generous with your touch. Now, one of the things that Jacob and I love to include in our naked date nights are some sort of sacrament. Traditionally, the word sacrament is some sort of something, a host, some sort of something, a food, an herb, something that one ingests within spiritual or religious ceremony as a means to invoke the divine. So say, for example, within Catholicism, when you receive communion, the wafer is your sacrament. And that sacrament is then believed to be like a delivery system of the Holy Spirit. So within other cultures, other sacraments can be used. For example, within traditional indigenous cultures, peyote, tobacco, other different herbs, things from the earth, are used as sacraments in order to induce a different mental state, mental emotional state, to make one more open to different energies, which some believe is opening up to the divine. And from mine and Jacob's experience, MDMA is a great sacrament for connection. MDMA, also known as ecstasy, also known as Molly, was once used before it was illegal, actually for marriage counseling. Because imagine this, imagine taking some sort of a medicine that released dopamine and serotonin in your brain, that helped your heart chakra open, helped your heart open, helped allow you to get into a mental emotional state where triggering didn't happen as much. You can receive people's hearts and people's information without taking things so personally. So, and it also increases sensation. So what Jacob and I found was that taking a small amount of MDMA as a sacrament as we came together gave us the opportunity to talk about everything that has been bothering us, anything we need to talk about, anything that was in our hearts, and we were able to have those conversations without triggering the other. And so our conversations and those deep heart-to-hearts were so much more productive, because many different substances can work as a time machine, where it's almost like it expands your consciousness, expands the possibility in that moment, so you're able to experience different levels of connection. So the serotonin and the dopamine allows you to have those conversations without triggering each other, and then after you get everything off your heart and out of your mind, then touching each other is amazing. And so we would just be in that space with each other all night long until it was time to reconvene with our kids. So by the time our kids got home, we've talked about everything that a lot of people would talk about in therapy. That's what we do instead of therapy. And we've had so much physical connection that once our kids come home, the love is palpable. The love is, and they just want it. They want to be a part of it. And so now they appreciate when we take that time for ourselves. We first started doing those yearly and then quarterly. Naked date nights. Try it. Let me know how it goes. You'll thank me.